Carol and the End of the World. And it was interesting, let's put it that way. It started out with lots of promise. I thought it was going to be an incredible show, and it was definitely suffered from the mindset of Game of Thrones, where it started out like gangbusters. It thwarted the goodwill it had built with its fan base. Let's put it that way. 10 episodes, I believe. Started out really cool. It's just this everyday, average, shy, introverted, antisocial woman 7 months before the world is about to end. And there's nothing they can do about it. There's a giant planet in the sky coming at Earth. The entire show is basically, the premise behind it is, how would you spend your last 7 months on Earth? And there's fireworks going off all the time. People are base jumping. People are taking cruises around the world. They're surfing, scuba diving, whatever. They're living their best life. And all Carol wants to do is go to work. And I love R-rated stuff. I love adult kind of topics and that sort of thing. But it almost felt tacked on. Her parents were in their 80s. They were nudists. They were in a throuple, for who I learned something new, a three-way relationship with their 40-year-old male nurse. It was funny. It was humorous. I don't know. Some of the stuff in it was okay. So I don't want to completely spoil it. One of my favorite post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic films called Last Night from 1998. If you haven't seen it, it's Canadian. It deals with the exact same thing, except this is the last 24 hours on Earth before the sun goes supernova. The show had a 90s kind of office workplace sitcom vibe, and the animation reminded me of Duckman. If you haven't seen Duckman, Jason Alexander plays a R-rated duck who is horny as all get out. Yeah, I know it sounds like Howard the Duck, but it was maybe worse. The show is never in a rush. It's the type of show that probably wouldn't be made anywhere else other than Netflix, because they're going to let the show breathe. Her voice reminds me of Aubrey Plaza from Parks and Rec. So if you like her, great. If you don't, well, that'll tell you. It was a beautiful, well fleshed out world. It was really neat. The animation was really cool, and they did a good job of painting this, I don't even know what you like, this post-apocalyptic wasteland, but the world didn't fall apart, but it did, if that makes sense. You know, when they go to the grocery store, the military's there checking you out. But for the most part, buildings weren't burning down, all of that stuff. So I don't know. The world was well built. It was gorgeously animated. I'll tell you that. She's an anxious, boring woman just looking for normalcy. The entire theme of the show is finding meaning in whatever you want, and mainly finding meaning in the mundane. The name of her workplace is Distraction. It's called Welcome to Distraction. And when it comes down to it, the entire theme of this show, and I was okay with this, the theme was distraction, because here's the deal. You got folks, because if we're preppers, but we know the world's going to end in 7 months, where do you go from there? It's a really interesting concept that they fleshed out well. And they're like, okay, let's see where the world would go. And they did a really, really good job for 8 episodes. The theme, like I said, was distraction. And they dealt with everything. They dealt with work. They dealt with sex, travel, extreme sports, creating, sleep, love, accomplishments, relationships. But when it came down to it, the idea behind it was whatever it takes to change your mind away from the end of the world. Basically, how do you get distracted? How do you keep yourself distracted from the coming apocalypse? And for her, for Carol, despite what everybody else said, she just wanted to go to work, and she found a workplace. I hope I didn't spoil anything, and I'm going to go into things a little bit here, but I'm not going to spoil it for you. So first 8 episodes set up a really good premise, and I'm thinking, okay, they could pay this off. It felt artsy. It's a very slow burn. Miss Cook, my wife, Rebecca, she did not like it at all. I know she didn't, but she was patient enough to watch it with me. But I didn't subject her to the last 2 episodes. I watched them in bed. First 8 episodes, set it up, and you're like, okay, if they knock this out of the park, it's going to tell a really well-crafted story from point A to point B. Episode 9 completely jumps the shark and is this satirical surfing documentary. Absolute waste of time. I don't know if they were trying to be random or what, but they basically did what The Last of Us did when they had 3 episodes left, and you're like, how are they going to tell this story? And they said, guess what? The final episode is going to be a bottle episode, which basically is a standalone episode using one or two main characters that have very little or nothing to do with the rest of the show. And that's actually, it was worse what they did in Carol at the End of the World. It really, truly was. Anyway, complete waste of an episode. And then episode 10, the final episode, is basically just a recap episode. They spend 27 minutes recapping what's happened in the first 8 episodes. And then the last 3 minutes is kind of the tacked on ending. What's my rating? 2 out of 5. Simple as that. Is it worth watching? No, it's not. If you like well animated, interesting shows with cool concepts, watch the first 8 episodes, or better yet, go in knowing you're not going to get a payoff, to just be entertained. And if you like things like that, maybe you will. But I'm giving it 2 out of 5 stars. I probably wouldn't waste my time.